Hi, I'm cutting in at the start here to issue a bit of a content warning. A major plot point in this chapter revolves around the threat of sexual violence toward a minor. We're going to talk about it and kind of acknowledge that it happens. Just fair warning, if you think that that is a thing that will make your day worse to hear about, I would encourage you to listen with caution. Here we go. Let's get into this chapter because it's a pretty good chapter and a really good book. Welcome to Radio Free Midworld. It's a podcast about the Dark Tower series of books by Stephen King. My name is Cole Ross, and today I'm joined by Autumn Greer.
Delighted as always.
And by Patrick Smith, or Paddy Smith. I also, my voice cracked when I said your name again.
I know. I'm just that captivating. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. We've got the whole crew of redheads together again. Yeah, we're gonna blaze through this. No, we're going to approach it at a leisurely pace because we have taken this very exciting chapter and broken it into two pieces. That's right. We were talking about Bridge and City, the climax, or one half of the climax, rather, of the Wastelands, continuing Book 3 of the Dark Tower. So last time, we kind of saw our ka-tet as they found their first piece of human civilization, and the people there, the people of the town of River Crossing, were pretty cool, you know. They gave them food, they gave them a necklace, you know, gave them jewelry and stuff. But most of all, they were just happy to see that gunslingers were still around. And afterward, they kind of compared their notes and figured out what it meant to be part of a ka-tet, to be this band of people bound together by fate and by duty. Now, we're going to see them get to this city that's been in the distance ever since they got out of the forest that they were in at the start of the book. Now, I'm going to ask this question again. This kind of backfired on me last time because it was a little bit of a slower chapter. But let's start with you, Autumn. What made you jump on this particular section?
I guess I just like riddling. I mean, this is where we start talking about riddles. We share a few great riddles, and I think that this is actually probably one of the more funny sections of the book. I mean, the first half of the book, it's great. We're learning more about Roland's world, but in this one we start to, I don't know, see Eddie cut up a little bit, see Roland get irritated with him, and then, again, I love a good riddling.
Yeah, if there's anything that holds your attention, it's riddling. Yeah. How about you, Patty?
I also enjoy a riddle, but my number one reason for jumping on this part of the book is it's your boy Gasher. Oh, I do like my Gasher, and we'll get to him later.
Yeah. Oh boy, what an unpleasant character.
God, isn't he great?
Yeah. When I was going through and highlighting stuff, there was some stuff that it's like, oh, that would be way too horrifying to relay on the show.
It's like a really pleasing, not pleasing. It's like a really good contrast to what just happened in the last chapter. All the wonderful, just wonderful, nice old people, and then just complete tonal shift. I love it.
Yeah, it's country mouse, city mouse, and I don't care if I die mouse. But yeah, let's kind of get started because we have a little bit more downtime before we get to the real action and peril of this chapter. As they are, you know, in the plains between River Crossing and Lud, you know, the gigantic city off in the distance. It's about 3 days after we last left them. The first sight that they see as the road starts getting a little bit rougher and as, population, or what used to be population, starts getting a little bit denser, is straight up a downed Nazi fighter jet. Or I'm sorry, not C fighter jet, as they say later.
Oh, Roland.
I loved in this scene that Jake is the one that's able to identify the plane because he did some kind of book report or something on fighter jets.
Yeah.
Like when I was Jake's age, I think I did a book report on Florida oranges, and I think most of the information came out of off of the back of a carton of orange juice. And Jake's able to just pull out oh, that's a double aught fighter, and he didn't have the History Channel. How does he know?
Well, he did go to Piper. I mean,
oh, true. Money doesn't get you into Piper. Knowledge of Nazi fighter jets gets you into Piper.
Exactly.
Yeah, I knew kids like that who could identify, like, mostly it was like dinosaurs or trains, roughly around that age, you know.
Yeah, you get into a theme, and like for me, it was probably ancient Greece. Like, if you ask me a question about Hercules, I'm up for that. Yeah. I loved reading that stuff at school. That was my favorite like chunk of lessons we did at. I think it was year 6 when I was about 11. We did ancient Greece. It was amazing.
But Patty will name all 12 labors in order.
Well, if you guys need an orange fact, just let me know.
How many segments are in the usual orange?
Whoa. That wasn't on the carton. Back it up.
Yeah. No, I forget what it was for me. It was probably the bosses from Mega Man games. I've wasted a lot of time. But Jake's kind of on point, and everybody's theory about why there happens to be this, you know, late 30s pre-WW2 German fighter jet, and they see the swastika on it, is that, hey, this might have been like it could have gone through like the Bermuda Triangle or something similar to that, you know, calling together these you know, strange connections, these doors, right? And of course we have Eddie going with his Rod Sterling impression about the Roland zone. Yeah,
I do like this bit. Yeah, I like that they're just keeping the parallels going between the worlds. You know, they kind of mention it every now and again, like, oh, that stuff can come through, and the Bermuda Triangle is probably a good place that will come through. I also like that Jake identifies the ship not by the Nazi sign, but like the shape of it, because he goes out and I think they put a sticker or like a thing over the top.
Yeah,
and he climbs up and he peels it off and is like, Knew it.
They had their own insignia over it, which was a hand holding a lightning bolt, which is also a little bit Nazi-esque, I think. And
pretty metal too. I mean,
for sure. And that logo probably was associated with somebody who we heard about in the previous chapter, David Quick, this, you know, legendary bandit lord who died by falling out of the sky. And we know that because the massive mummified body inside of this, who Susannah says they must have had to have greased him up to put him into the cockpit, is presumed to be the body of David Quick. Now, last episode, I think I erroneously said that Lord Perth was the one who fell from the sky, when in reality, Lord Perth was just an analog of the David and Goliath story. I was confused because a character we're going to meet later, who is a relative of David Quick, gets real sensitive about the Lord Perth comparisons in his family. So that's how I got messed up.
Isn't he a relative of Lord Perth? Isn't he like a distant descendant?
Maybe I haven't gotten that far on my reread for this, so it could very much be the case.
To the concordances.
Yeah, that would take too much time, and I don't want to make you guys wait. It would be edited out, but that'd be inconvenient. Yeah. Autumn, you were going to say something?
I just got kind of a like Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox vibe from this, because like I'm not a skeleton whisperer, but I mean, like, skeletons mostly look like they're the same size. Like, this skeleton had to be ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, like
they can tell from the finger bones, like, oh, those must have been some massive paws on that guy. And I again, like Roland the Skeleton Whisperer, just finding out everything the skeleton can tell him.
Of course. Using the bones to generate his prophecy. A lot of mummy talk in this in this series, but also in this chapter. We're gonna get a lot of that there. Yeah. Have either of you ever been near like a fighter jet and seen the cockpits and stuff?
No.
Briefly, when I was younger on a trip to a museum, it was kind of small.
Yeah,
that's what I remember. Just very small looking.
Yeah, I live about an hour away from the Wright-Patterson Air Force Museum, and here a couple of years ago went up there, and they have a cockpit that you can get into, and it's, you know, like, I think it's like a Vietnam era fighter jet or something. It is a tight squeeze. So I'm having a lot of fun picturing this guy in a. Who knows if it would have been a jet? I'm not actually sure. Sticking out of the top of it, being sent to fly without actually knowing it. It is like both comic and tragic at the same time. You know what might have happened, but
see, I can see like the size, like, you know, like Andre the Giant.
Yeah,
like someone that big in a fighter jet. He'd look like he was in a kart game, just sort of sticking out of the top.
Oh yeah,
just doing sweet power slides and throwing bombs at people.
Of course.
All I
bombs
could
would be
think is
accurate.
it's too bad that this plane didn't have an airbag if the way he died was cracking his head on the windshield, huh?
Oh, geez, yeah,
Ooh.
that is a detail. And they also noticed that the plane didn't burn up. It's there and entirely intact. So what they presume is, he ran out of fuel when he was in the air, and this was just how he landed, was straight down.
And that's why you always wear your seatbelt.
Yep, that's a lesson. Blood on the bridge. I about said blood on the asphalt, but that is the actual name of the thing. But yeah, they roll over this, and again, much like hearing "Hey Jude," or having another version of the David and Goliath story come across, or the Icarus myth. Here we are with these connections, and we're going to see even more of them a little bit later on. And this is where we get to the riddle scene. Where basically out of nowhere, Roland decides to occupy everybody by putting out this riddle. And we get this long kind of discussion about how important riddles were to Gilead and to Roland's youth. Now, Autumn, you were really excited about this. So, give me the rundown of what happens here.
Well, they're sitting there. They run through. They talk about the book that Eddie had brought back from the world, where he's got riddles with the pages out. They start talking about good riddles, and I might have oversold it at the beginning to start with. I'm actually not good at riddles. I just like them.
Right.
I've probably read this book about 10 or 15 times over the last however many years. And every time, even when Roland runs through a riddle, I'm like, shit, was that the river or the clock? And I know the riddles. I've read the book, but I'm so bad at riddling that I'm like, oh, was that the stages of man? I don't know. Jesus. Roland gets a little tense about my friend Eddie making some riddles that Roland does not think are good. He thinks they're dumb.
Right, because, Roland's going out there and saying these, and riddles and jokes have a lot in common, right? Especially jokes that are, predicated on asking a question. And so Eddie, he goes back to his days on the basketball courts of Brooklyn and thinks, okay, well, let me drop some dead baby science on him. Or let me ask him, a riddle whose punchline is Moby Snot. I forget, what's big and green at the bottom of the ocean or something like that. Things that are nonsensical, right? And Roland's whole point about the riddles is they were meant to be a test kind of somebody's sanity, but also of their just ability to think around corners, was what he said. And he is really upset that Eddie is making a mockery of this kind of sacred practice, from his civilization, the one thing that he is kind of carried forward, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And these Eddie's jokes are completely aimed at Roland not being able to get them right, because Roland doesn't think even close to that. He tries to delve the secret truth, and we see it later where they're trying to sort of argue. They're discussing riddles later, and he's overthinking things far too much. And the fact this is just a dumb dead baby joke answer, yeah, of course you're going to be upset. This is my culture, and you've appropriated it.
Yeah, well, and also you're setting up something that he can never, he can never answer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Roland definitely gives me this vibe. Have you guys seen that meme with the kid with the katana? And it's while you were out partying, I studied the riddle. while you were having premarital sex, I mastered the verbal puzzle and the double think,
Yeah, defended the blockchain. Yeah. It's
exactly.
it's
for Roland, this has to be like being stuck out in the woods with Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura. He is just so palpably irritated with him. You're out there with Jim Carrey in The Mask, and you're like, just stop, just stop.
Yeah. And Eddie gets kind of steamed. He's a little bit disgruntled at the fact. I think that's actually the word that Stephen King uses. He gets disgruntled at the fact that this did not get a warm reception whatsoever. Because I tend to agree with Eddie on this. Jokes can serve a similar role. They do show that you are thinking around corners. The problem is it's for the teller, not the responder, right? So they're similar things, but different enough. And this is kind of a spoiler, but this foreshadows something that is so amazing about the next book, and the fact that they laid the seeds for that here. in Roland and Eddie's different approaches to this, seemingly trivial act, I think is some really good kind of like story crafting.
What I really like about this section as well, and you guys touched on it just a little bit in the last episode, but this is the point in, I assume, any ka-tet where, you've gone through the first few weeks and everybody's best friends and we're making fires together. And the little things that people do start to get under your skin. And Roland is so irritated with Eddie. Roland's so preachy to everybody that everybody's a little bit irritated with Roland. Like, Jake, that's not how you start a fire.
Yeah.
Like,
Here he goes
everybody's
again.
just, on their last nerve a little bit.
Yeah. The honeymoon is over. They're all all of the glow of having been alive, of having survived what they did, is kind of settling down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
They've had their one good meal. It all gets worse from here.
Yeah, they're back to their burritos. This sucks. Bring on those elves. So, put a pin in that and remember how important riddles are, because that will become a factor later on. We jump forward a couple more days to a scene that I think is incredibly effective, but also very disturbing, which is when they're continuing down the road and they hear some bees and they think, oh, well, this is great. We're going to have some honey. It'd be amazing, again, to tart up these sucky burritos with something sweet, right? And they follow the buzzing to their source, and Roland notices, hey, something is wrong. And when they get a look at it, what they actually see instead of a healthy hive is that the bees are all muties. They are completely white. They're kind of flying around lazily in circles and running into each other. And their hive, instead of being, hexagonal, is just this big blob of holes, that is hanging there. And Roland's like, well, sorry I got your hopes up, but if we eat that, we will die.
I mean, no sane person would eat from that hive, right? I mean, you look at that. As someone who was massively creeped out by a very significant white thing in a film, I had a history of being very, very terrified of the film E.T.
Okay.
When I was like, I think I watched it first when I was like 9, and it absolutely just broke me. I couldn't deal with it. And I kept watching it, and it gets to the point where he's kind of laying down in a ditch and he's all white and gross. Yeah, thank you.
Dehydrated and shit, yeah.
And
He looks like a bag of worms from the get-go. I've never liked E.T.
Yeah, E.T.
Sorry.
Yeah. But they make him worse.
Yeah.
Like a bag of worms that's been drained of all the blood. But yeah, this description of these bees put me in mind of how I felt looking at that disgusting white ET on the floor in a trench next to a highway, just kind of lying there all ill and sickly and pale and don't want to touch it.
Yeah. Well, I'm creeped out by bees anyway. So the idea of these mutated ones creating sick poison honey, there's just something fundamentally upsetting about it to me.
I have to imagine that this is probably what, when they talked about the honey being poison, this is probably what got the bear in the beginning of the book, right? Because if I learned one thing from Winnie the Pooh, bears love honey. That's probably what got him sick.
Yeah.
Oh, hell.
The bear was over at the portal of the hare, and he got stuck in the window trying to get his honey.
It was either that or that picnic basket or something, right? the nuclear picnic basket.
Oh, gosh. That is the cousin to the nuclear football.
Oh, bother, said Shardik.
So, aside from just being an effective piece of, scene and subtle creeping horror, this underlines a little bit of what happened here in the world. Eddie presses Roland for more details, and he says, some call it the Old War, the Great Fire, the Cataclysm, the Great Poisoning. But Eddie makes a pretty good guess at what this actually was, which was nuclear war. Or it is the closest thing that he understands to what the old ones did to themselves and their world that would have left, even these small, simple creatures so irrevocably harmed.
Yeah, as far as we can tell, I think Eddie's got it pretty dead on there. It's the poisoned animals alone.
Yeah.
Says nuclear fallout. I mean, we've all experienced the game Fallout, right? With the horrible mutant creatures. Like that's just what I see these as being. They're bloat flies.
Yeah,
but white and fuzzy. Ugh.
Yeah, they've seen these fields of buffalo with 2 heads.
Which is slightly less mutated than other things, apparently.
Yeah. Well, they're the ones that just have their insides born on the outside. Yeah, lots of we're going to see a lot of that at the end of this book, actually, because we are, like this I was about to say this game, this book is called The Wastelands, like it's very much in play. I love this line at the end of the section about the bees. Put simply, here's the quote. So they left the bees to their aimless, shattered life in the grove of ancient trees, and there was no honey that night. And then,
those poor bees.
Oh, well, going on about some kind of semblance of life and activity. And then in the middle of this section here, we get a small little advertisement for the next book where Eddie says, "Hey, tell us your story from beginning to end."
I noted that as well, because all I could think is, I'm surprised that Roland didn't say, "And Eddie, you'll have to get that in your world in 1999 by Scribner for $17.95."
Wait a minute.
It was that much of a plug.
You mean that I have to wait 9 more years for this? What are you talking about? That can't possibly be. Yeah. So let's get to the bridge, because this is where kind of the rising action begins for this, at least for the city of Lud itself, because we get this confirmation right away that this is not, a new Rivendell. This is not a place where the wise elves are going to give them their dune buggy so they can trundle up to the base of the Dark Tower. No, they see, even as they approach, that the skyline has buildings that are fallen down out of it. They compare it to like a jaw that is, that has some teeth that are rotted out of it. They hear gunfire and explosions, and they have you second guess, like, "Hey, it's not too late to go around." And Jake, in his certainty from his premonition, says, "Yes, we cannot go around because we need Blaine's protection to get through the wastelands. He just knows it."
Roland kind of calls him out on that too. He's like, "You don't know a lot about Ka yet, little man. You just learned about Ka about 2 weeks ago. So,
you pompous piece of shit."
Yeah, slow your roll, buddy.
Roland, you use Ka for every answer to every single question.
Hey, Roland, how many times have you died?
As many times as Ka wills. God damn it, Roland!
So anyway, yeah, but they are, being marched inexorably along the beam by their own duty, by their own Ka. And when they get up close to the river, they actually see something that kind of both raises and dashes their hopes a little bit, because they've heard so many bad things about Blaine, this monorail. There's a little bit of like an uplift in their voice when they look into the river and see that it is that there is a train, and they're like, the track is broken and there is a blue train sticking out of the water.
Yeah, Eddie seems, I think it's Eddie that sort of hints that he thinks that it might have jumped its rails coming back in and crash landed.
Yeah. And they're doing like some forensics on this, saying it must have happened on the deceleration on its way in, because there's no way it would still be intact if it was, if it crashed at full speed.
I mean, it would look cool.
That'd be pretty badass. Paint that on the side of my van.
Flat train.
But Jake says, "No, that's not Blaine. There must be 2 of them. Well, one of them now, because Blaine is pink, the same dusty pink as the bubble gum that you get in trading baseball cards. There we go. Yeah,
isn't he just a magical wizard boy?
He is.
He knows things.
He sees more than you and I see.
Yeah, he's so valuable.
He's so valuable, but he's also a bit of a hindrance here. Everything kind of goes sideways because he cannot get rid of that fucking Oy. No, I'm not going to hold that against him. Always so cute. But they get to this bridge. Again, it is meant to look like the George Washington Bridge, which is, made of this kind of exposed grid work of boxes. But they see that it is not good. I think the word you used for it last time, Paddy, was knackered.
Knackered, yeah, that's a good English word for this. Knackered.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the comparison on the support wires to overstretched guitar strings kind of puts my teeth on edge, because
you can hear them vibrate, can't you?
Yeah, like as the wind passes over them, And I don't know why, but I have like a little bit of a phobia for if I'm tuning my guitar up in the back of my mind, even though I've been doing it for about 10 years now, I worry that, just the low E string is going to snap and it's going to take my eye out.
That's how I feel about lawnmowers and rocks. I'll shield my eye when I walk past them. Like,
yep.
Not today, lawnmower.
Oh man, maybe tomorrow, but not today. Whew.
Man, you guys need to get brave. Once when I was at university, we played we invented a game called Danger Ball, where have you ever played swing ball?
No.
Okay, so swing ball is basically it's like tetherball in America, where you've got the stick and you've got a string and you've got a ball on the end, and we've got like tennis rackets, so you kind of hit the tennis ball back and forward, and whoever gets it to the top wins. Yeah, it's like tetherball but smaller ball. So
smaller ball and also faster because you're hitting it with a racket, so tension's involved. Yeah,
you really go for it. But what we did is we took away the pole part, but we kept the string and the ball. So we got rid of the pole and we're just sort of playing tennis with the string and the ball. Turns out that string can whip. It's really fun.
I can't believe that scared of white E.T. Paddy just called me out.
I think we have all admitted to some pretty profound fears on this. Danger Ball is an amazing name for that game, and I'm very.
We're such complex creatures, aren't we?
I think so. I think I want to see video of that. So,
no string whipping around that could take out an eye, but a white thing.
Oh no! Specifically, a white dry dying thing. Come on. Yeah.
And to go for a shower.
But yes, the bridge is kind of listing to one side because it has seen better days in the past. Roland thinks that even though it has probably been neglected for about 1,000 years at this point, most of the damage has been done in the past 50. Because the things that they see are likely due to like trauma from attacks and explosions rather than just the inexorable march of time.
There's like holes in it, isn't there? It's all listing and there's gaps in the road, and there's only one piece of the road that's actually good, isn't there?
Yeah. Like the only way that they can go is actually be on the side path, right? Because that has it's like its own deck. He goes into a lot of detail about the way this thing is constructed. What's we're saying is there's like 5 feet on either side that they can go down, and that's because even if the sidewalk is blown away, they can walk on the support. That good old fashioned Lemerck foundry steel. But somewhere around the middle of the bridge, there's 20 feet where they will have to walk on the steel support wire. And this kind of puts, like everybody's like, well, that's minorly inconvenient. Oy probably is going to have a tough time doing this because he can't really, walk on that because he's a tiny little guy and he'll be blown away. Also, the wind is up and this thing is swaying. The biggest problem here is Eddie, who never knew that he was afraid of heights up to this point. But now he is very much kind of trying to urge himself not to lock up.
And just like that, we're back to fear again.
Yeah.
I feel badly for Eddie here because I think because of certain heteronormative tropes, he couldn't do what he wanted, which is to ask Roland to put Susannah on the ground, put Eddie in his sling, her sling, and carry Eddie across the bridge. I would have had no shame. I'd be like, Roland, hey, let me hop up.
Yeah, let's
Autumn needs a ride.
Yeah, giddy up, Deshane. Yeah. Yeah, no, that would definitely be a good way to do it. Although I would have to worry that Roland would go into court mode. If that happens, just and go upside Eddie's head. That would be the concern. Huh. Yeah. Even more notable.
What Roland would do is get halfway across and then undo the straps. It would be a test.
Yeah.
Stand or fall.
The more notable thing is the person who probably has the most reason to be afraid of a rickety bridge is not afraid at all. That's right. Jake is buzzed by the adrenaline that is flooded into his system. He's way into the danger. He's got that Jeff Bridges and Fearless mojo.
How does that work? Is it because does he think like by averages because he's fallen off of one bridge?
Lightning won't strike twice.
Yeah, like I've done that now. Like I can tick that off the bucket list, and I fell off a bridge and died already. So what? It's not going to happen again, is it?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Jake was just born a little bit too early, or maybe he was born at the right time, because I have to imagine he would go straight from this into that Cronenberg movie Crash, where the people all got off on the car accidents.
Oh, yeah.
That's Jake's next grown-up step, right? Like, I used to love running down those suspension bridges. Now it's time to get off in a car wreck.
Yeah. Looking for some wounds.
Yeah, me and my buddy James Spader.
That is such a
maybe that's
disturbing
it,
movie.
because he saw the crash train. He was like, "Yeah, I'm into that."
But then if he was born too late, he would be confused and think it was the Brendan Fraser Crash movie.
Yeah, one day this is gonna be my deal.
Finally, I can put an end to this. I'm a Crash boy. Yeah. So, this is kind of a tangled action scene, but I'll give the short summary and we can expand on it. So they're moving along in a line, and Jake goes to cross, and he forgot to pick up Oy. Oy ends up running out to him, and the wind blows him off. Jake reaches down. Oy bites onto his hand. Jake is holding on kind of by his fingernails. Eddie gets over his fear, runs in and grabs him, but is also thrown off balance by this, and it takes Roland carrying Susannah on his back to come out and steady all of them.
I mean, really, Roland should have just carried them all across himself, shouldn't he? All in one go.
Yeah.
That's kind of what he's ended up doing. I like as well, I think in the book, it seems like Jake sort of dives for Roy as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just stood on this, just dives. Like, I mean, there's getting over your fear, and then there's running, jumping, and hurdling over your fear.
Yeah. Eddie has so little concern for himself that he runs out there, and in order to drop down in time to catch Jake, his feet fall out from under him, and he wangs himself in the balls on the support wire.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Yep. Cheap fucking vasectomy is what he says.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, I did like the way it was like he just like runs, barely even holds onto the support like on the side, does he? He just kind of sprints over, jumps down, and grabs just in time. And like everyone's just doing such a good job of being a bit hurt but totally okay. Eddie's balls, Jake's hand is getting just munched to pieces by Oy, which again, go on, Jake. Go on, my son.
And Jake had a backpack. He could have put Oy in the backpack.
Oh yeah, he could have totoed that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, lack of foresight.
Sat him in the wheelchair.
Oh, well, Eddie's carrying the wheelchair.
Yeah, there's room for a bungalow. They're not big. They're like badger size, aren't they? You could sit him in the top.
Yeah. Put him on your shoulder,
Or in a bag, or in a shirt, or anywhere except that he can run by himself.
Yeah. Well, little kids, they forget things.
I love you, Oy. I love you for your flaws.
But yeah, like this is a close one. Jake is having a good dog dangling afternoon. Worried that Oy is not going to let go of his hand, being too afraid. And as Roland is wiping the blood off of Oy's mouth, our good friend, our friend and yours, and kind of the main villain fixture for this portion of the chapter, there's somebody bigger later on, but here he is now, our friend Gasher, who is kind of described as being dressed like a pretty like a pretty flamboyant pirate. Not flamboyant.
Pirates of the Caribbean is the one note I've written about Gasher. Like, he just seems like a crusty one of them. You know, in the first film, when they're all a little bit merman. Yeah. And they're like crunchy, and they've got kind of like scabs on their faces, and they're all sort of sepia and
Yeah.
That's Gasher.
Yeah.
But with a yellow scarf.
Yep, yellow scarf, green pants, eye patch, with yellow goo running out from beneath it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he just seems like they describe him as is it a grinning pirate?
Yeah, pretty much.
A grinning pirate who just smiling with, I imagine, like 3 teeth.
Look at the episode art for this for this episode, listeners, and you will see a picture of him. Yeah, like there's a pretty good drawing of him in the in one of the original editions of the book.
Oh, see, now I want to be in the future so I can see it. Damn. But I really like the way he talks. Because they describe him as having an accent so thick his sense of words is almost lost. So again, I prepared for this partly by listening to the audiobook, and Frank Muller, his interpretation of that really leans into the inscrutability, to the point where
I was listening to like one part of it when I was in the shower, because I listen to podcasts and audiobooks pretty much all the time when I'm at home alone. I couldn't make out what was going on over the sound of the water. Like, I had to go out, rewind a chapter or a section, and then listen to it like intently.
Well, I mean, you've actually probably substituted in a good bit of sort of 4D there, because it's quite windy on the bridge. You wouldn't be able to hear him anyway.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I think your original listen is probably the better listen.
What the fuck is this guy saying?
Yeah.
You get to call your area.
Just
you
like
get every other word.
a really bad voice acting job on like Charles Dickens' Bleak House or something, you know? Just like the worst Cockney parody.
And it's kind of strange. I don't know why everybody on this side of the wasteland has that kind of faux degenerated English kind of accent or affect to it. But like when you get over to the other side, you get to people who sound more like Mainers, right? Like people who are from, you know, around where Stephen King lives. So it's just it is this extra sense of how far gone these people are that you can barely understand what they're saying.
God, these pubes and grays, huh?
Yeah. Barbarians. So there's something that makes Gasher extra scary, aside from, you know, the fact that he's here to take Jake, which is the, you know, the demand that he's making, which is the fact that he is ill. In fact, he's probably going to die from a disease that Roland calls either whore's blossoms or mandris. These are these sores that you see all over his face. I think that it probably is like meant to evoke like late stage syphilis is what it's intended to be. But the idea being, because he's going to die soon anyway, all the rules go out the window. And there's a little excerpt here. When you were facing the dead, however, everything changed. And so when you have Gasher walking up, holding on to a grenade, saying, hey, if you shoot me, or if I die, I drop this and it blows up, taking all of us with us. It shows that, like, this is going to be tougher to deal with, because as gunslingers, he doesn't care. Like, he just doesn't care about anything.
You know, we've touched on this before, but I mean, Roland really is willing. And to be fair, he has seen Jake come back once, but he really treats him like he's got infinite Mortys, like in Rick and Morty. I mean, yeah, sure, take this Morty, Gasher, whatever. Hey, I'll save you, little bruh, or I'll get a new one of you from another world, you know?
I've seen that applied to Batman and Robins.
Oh, yeah.
There was a comic on, I think, Saturday Morning Breakfast here, which is Batman and Robin in a situation like, one of these pills is poison, but which one? And the next panel's like, how are we going to get down this slope? We don't have a sled. There have been 4,000 Robins.
Yeah. But Gasher is sent here. He wants Jake. He wants to take Jake to the TikTok man, who is the leader of the Greys, right? Remember, the Greys are the ones who made the big final raid on the city and are now more entrenched. These were once the raiders who were outside. The pubes being the people who were once younger, who were like the artisans who were more entrenched. We're going to see more of them later on, but what you need to know, TikTok Man is going to figure pretty heavily into this. Just to show how vile Gasher is, and this is one of those things I was like, do I want to bring this up? Or do we just highlight it and let that be? Susannah says, hey, go fuck yourself, after he asks for Jake. Ryan Gasher says,
yeah.
Oh, well, why not? Give me a chunk of mirror and I'll rip it right off and stick it right in. Why not, for all the good it's doing me these days? Why, I can't even run water through it without it burns me all the way to the top of my gully wash. So, he takes the insult and says, well, okay, yep, sure, let me cut it off. Let me put it up there. Yeah.
Like, I get the feeling he would.
Yeah.
To prove a point. He doesn't care.
Yeah, it would even help him, he says.
I like the little moment in there when Oy even calls him an asshole.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Even the Billy Bummer thinks you're an asshole, bro.
Oh, so vile. Yeah. And of course there has to be some weird little sexual angle to this. as he takes Jake away, he does a faux little hump on him and says, "Oh, use the wine that makes old men drunk." So not only is he looking, are the Greys looking to bring in, fresh meat, to bolster their ranks, they are going to use Jake for sex. And that is incredibly horrifying in a way that will probably make me put a warning at the front of this episode, just in case.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
No.
And then the sort of spiraling out from that is then like the guilt that the party get, because they give Jake over because they're all going to die if they don't. Is that the guilt that they all seem to feel for not seeing him earlier? Like Roland says, if he'd have been at the other end of the bridge, one shot, problem solved. No problem over there. Because of the mistake that happened, because Oy ran out and Eddie jumped out and everyone was kind of distracted because they weren't on their game for. Because later on, they're all kind of more on their game. They're gunslingers, but because they've screwed up, they're all feeling really, really guilty.
Yeah,
they've only been a ka-tet for about a week.
There's probably a level of I don't know, naivete or complacency to it, because aside from the gunfire that they heard, they had no reason to believe that there would be an imminent threat that came out for them. Maybe I might even say go so far as to say that they were being way too optimistic, that if they thought that they wouldn't get any more problems until they got further in, or something along those lines, right?
Like you assume that the conflict would take up everyone's attention, and that there's been no, even the river crossing people say there's not really been any activity for years. There's been no one coming in or out for ages, so you'd assume they'd have stopped watching the bridge. But it shows what always post lookouts.
Yeah, and always put that dog in a bag.
This is a really great day for Gasher, though. Like, he got to keep his grenade. He got a live boy, like a brand new boy. Yeah. I mean, this is probably the best day in his short life, or his short continuing life.
He got one over on a gunslinger.
Yeah.
Great day.
Gasher did a good job. Yeah. And to your point, Autumn, it seems like Roland gave Jake up pretty easy, and Eddie even gives him some heat for that. Like, hey, why would you, what the fuck are you thinking? You sent him to his death. And the reality is that, they had no other option. Everything would have ended if they held there. At least now they have a chance to go after him.
I was going to say, this is a terrible thing to say, but have you guys watched the Venture Brothers? It reminded me of when the Monarch sold Dean Venture to King Gorilla for a pack of smokes.
Yeah.
And then was like, oh, wait, I need him. That's Dean Venture. I need to get him back.
I'm due for a Venture Brothers rewatch. Yeah, for a pack of smokes. Just trading them like currency. Yeah. So at this point, they split up because Oy has already run off after them. Gasher is taking him away. Roland says, even though you think you would be doing everybody a favor by coming with me, no, actually go find Blaine and just fire bullets wildly into the air. How far we have come from the beach, so he can come find you. And the rest of the chapter is portrayed kind of in this interlead fashion. They jump back and forth between the three different kind of parties. I have taken this and put it into. I basically untangled it to present them directly. That way we are not similarly jumping back and forth. Does that sound like a good course of action to you guys?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, in the book, though, I do like the way they thread it like this, because this is the point where it starts getting just relentless.
Yes.
Just stuff kicks off. And just to get slightly ahead of myself, once again, I got to the end of the assigned section, and I'm like, just want to read a bit more.
Oh, yeah. Well, I intentionally chose the cutoff point to be very suspenseful.
Damn you, Cole Ross!
I mean, everybody can keep on reading. But yes, so let's follow Jake and Gasher here at the start. So, as Jake is being led away, he sees all these cars along the road. As they're being led up the river. He thinks, hey, this is what the East River Drive would look like 200 or 300 years after some weird brain plague killed all of the sane people in the world. I love the idea of a brain plague.
Yeah. Could you elucidate, just fill me in on what East River Drive is, because that's a reference that is completely lost on me.
It's the river. I don't know specifically what part of Manhattan, like north south wise. It is the kind of like riverfront road that it's over by the I think by the UN building, where Manhattan kind of looks over the East River to Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to pull over, is it the place where the ending of Metal Gear Solid 2 takes place?
No, the ending of Metal Gear Solid 2, and I only know this because I just played this. That is down that is down closer to Battery Park or Wall Street. It's Federal Hall is where is where that is.
It's a street. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We tried.
Yeah. No, the George Washington Bridge is definitely. I mean, that's what Snake jumps off of at the beginning of that game.
Damn right.
Yeah, that's a really cool scene. I have to edit that episode still. But yeah, he sees that. Also, up along this road, we see more remnants of our own world present here. There are cars that he doesn't recognize that look like basically Jetson mobiles. But there are other ones, VW Beetles, Chevy Corvairs, and also Ford Model A's. So just a real mix and match smattering of a bunch of different eras.
I was just sitting here thinking about how what cracks me up about this scene is how spry Gasher is. Like he's he's dragging Jake, but I mean, he's like in my head like if Usain Bolt from Jamaica, the one with like 20 some odd gold Olympic medals, like had syphilis, really like late stage syphilis. Like, come on, man.
Oh no,
I got syphilis, but keep up. Come on.
Well, there's a really good line that I kind of skipped over. I think I made a note of it in describing Gasher. He could be 30, 40, or 60, just because of how degraded his whole physical state is. So it is very surprising that little kids can run a lot. They're like they tend to be pretty fast little dudes. Notwithstanding the fact that Jake isn't really a willing participant in this, he gets winded so much faster than Gasher does.
Well, Gasher's a survivor, isn't he? Like,
yeah,
he lives in this world. He probably has to run quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I see this scene, running. It's kind of, oh God, here we go again. It's movie star running. It's Tom Cruise running. He's just going and doesn't slow down, doesn't stop, doesn't get winded. He just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes.
Yeah.
Go on, Gasher. You're a horrible person, but good running. Well done.
Yep, you got that one thing right. You've had a good day, and you've done one thing right.
Yeah. God, he's so disgusting, Santa. Like the vision I have of him is like gangly arms and legs, just sort of pumping, and horrible knock knees, and that horrible scarf flacking out behind him and sort of smacking Jake in the face.
Well, they even go so far as to say that, like, in his exertion with his blood up, his sores start weeping more.
Yeah. Ugh. Oh, he's got Stephen King. He's really good at just grossing me out in this chapter. I don't know about you guys, but he writes a good pus.
Can we sample that as a blurb for the next edition? Good pus. Yeah. So the place that Gasher takes Jake to, or I guess more accurately through, is kind of this winding maze of alleys that are completely rigged to be A, booby-trapped, but B, just these mazes and tangles of debris. Like, there are whole sections that are just like newspaper. There are whole sections that are like walls made of television and video monitors, with the idea being that they can throw a tail by coming into this, because Gasher knows this like the back of his hands. All pockmarked and sore-ridden as they are, whereas Roland, notwithstanding the fact that he is an expert tracker, would have, it'd take him hours to get, to successfully navigate this.
I think it really speaks to how little that the conflict reaches these outside areas, because some of the traps that are described, really complicated. There's a fountain that's stuck up in the air with these little razor wire triggers holding it up, and there's is it a couple of tanks is the first one or something, some just big machines positioned over the road ready to fall. And it's okay, it takes a lot of work to get that up there and probably a lot of work to balance it. Just one misstep. How long have these been here?
Yeah. They have to be probably very carefully maintained. I love how blasé he is about that too, because when they get to the first tripwire trap, Gasher says, like, maybe there's a city bus balanced up there. I can't remember.
There is one thing that I really liked in this too. It's just one line where they were talking about how Gasher is driving Jake forward, like tapping on his shoulders like a farmer would a mule, which is kind of foreshadowing for something we'll see later in Wolves of the Calla. Like he's just running him like a mule, just whipping him, sending him on, and like his boy mule.
Yeah. Boy mule. Please don't say boy mule again.
Will not say it again. As soon as I said it, I was like, "That I gotta walk that back."
Until book 5. In book 5, it might be appropriate. Right now, though, that's too depressing. But yeah, it's no good. And like, he's leading Jake along, but also just like narrowly stopping him before he triggers these.
What dick! You dick,
Yeah.
Gasher. I mean, he is a dick.
Oh yeah,
but. Like, he's running, and there's that dead stop as well, like fingernails in the arms. That's the thing that gets me about this. The fingernails digging into the arms. Like, ooh, no, that sounds like that hurts.
Oh, you know those fingernails haven't been anywhere near a file.
Oh, imagine the pus.
I'd rather not. Especially since later on he threatens to rip out Jake's tongue, and he says, "Go ahead and bite down if you want. If you want to have the same sores and stuff that I've got, because I am a horrible, contagious monster, and I don't care if I live or die, and I will make you sick just by being around you.
It's in my blood.
Unclean. Where have I been? You don't know where I've been."
Of all the people, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to touch it.
We could have gone in a whole different direction if they had just said, "Hey, man, you have a grenade, but we have Keflex, and I'm pretty sure penicillin will get you all squared away with your horse blossoms."
Might be too late for him, though. I think syphilis isn't treatable in its 3rd stage.
Oh, is it not?
No, I think you have to catch it early. By the time you see it in the sores, it's too late. Like, you're about to lose your nose, and you're going to be crazy.
Okay, we're learning some facts today, some hard truths.
Yeah. I think I heard that on Sawbones. Yeah. No, and then Gasher also has the temerity to raid Jake's Jansport for sun chips.
Pop gets a treat.
Yeah. Like, hey, got any snackies? I love treats. And he gets pissed off when all that's in there is like sunglasses and arrowheads. What use is this to me? I wanted Gushers. Gushers for Gasher.
Gushers for Gasher. Thank God.
But this is important.
My favorite line in this whole section is when Jake is saying something and Gasher talks about how he's really sad, and he's like, I'm going to start crying. But when I start to cry, the only thing that gets me happy again is a little bit of slapping. And I would just love to say that to a little kid, like, "Oh, you're really making me sad, and the only thing that's gonna make me feel better is some slapping."
just saying it real calm, like it's a negotiation.
Yeah. Raising my little slapping hand in the air, like, I know you're 8, but I gotta feel better. Time for some slapping.
It'd be a good way to mess with that kid. Oh, I forgot about that line. And then we have Spanker, who we see later on. Man, Lud is so great. I like Lud a lot. I would hate to go there, but I like reading about it. Around this point, hearing the drums makes Gasher drop the backpack, and they proceed on. There's another trap here where there are 2 pressure plates. One of which would have brought this gigantic fountain down, this gigantic marble fountain. And Jake, who throughout all of this has kind of been descending into despair. So, he's just in shock. He's out of breath, losing blood. His hand hurts. He's separated from his friends, has no idea if they're going to get him. Like, Jake is in a really bad way. He considers even stepping on that and bringing the entire mess down around him so that Gasher will die. But his conclusion is, no, Gasher's going to die anyway. We definitely need to take more people out. This would be a wasted death. So that is what gets him to go on.
Again, just go on, Jake. You grew up so fast. Well done.
Yeah.
They call you a boy, but you're a man inside. That.
Big little.
Let's move on.
Big little man. Big little man.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a reverse Tom Hanks in Big.
Man, that would actually. I'm surprised that somebody hasn't made like the modern day adaptation, which is about like a 30-something-year-old millennial who wishes that he could be could have the promise of youth back. And he goes to a carnival machine, and he becomes a man in a kid's body, and call it small.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
we got
to
trademark that
understand,
quickly.
TM.
He has to understand what fidget spinners are for. I don't get it.
What the fuck those are? Why is everybody selling them? Why are they $1?
He's in the playground, he's throwing it, and people are looking at him like, what are you doing? Like, it's a frisbee, right? Throw them.
Are you wearing Heelys? Yeah, of course they're cool. It doesn't even have any gushers for Gasher. Yeah. So they get where they're ultimately headed for, which is this manhole, which again was made by Lemerck Foundry. And Gasher says, "Hey, doesn't matter that you're not talking to me. We've got TikTok Man who has a way of making people talk, but it's not strangely enough, it's not said threateningly. It's not like a whole, oh, we have our ways kind of thing. It's like he's just got a way about him that, people just keep on talking until we hit them when they're around him. They paint a really good picture of TikTok Man, and I wish that there was more of him.
Yeah, I at this point in my first read, I was already just like scared. Someone's gonna die. He sounds terrible.
TikTok Man, also a very good name for a villain. But as they go down this manhole, Jake hears an explosion and falling rubble back the way they came, and loses hope because he believes that Roland tripped the trap, and thinks that in reality, nobody's gonna come for him. Like, this is it. That's we're done.
Worth just before that as well. Not to snipe you there. The manhole. Like, again, we get just another shot of just Jake just being just a little bit cool when he's like, open the manhole, and he tries, but not as much as he could have tried.
Mm-hmm.
But Gasher totally knows. It's like, no, do it properly.
Yep. He knows he's slow walking it, and I think that's where he threatens to rip out the tongue.
He's doing a go slow. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's where the tongue bit is. Yeah, he's on a go slow. And again, it's like, go on, Jake, just show a little bit of defiance. Just hinder him enough. But yeah, when the explosion goes off, Jake genuinely believes that Roland has found one of the traps.
Yeah.
And it's all over.
Yeah.
That scene is also how you know that Jake really is a grown-up little child, because he starts to have lower back pain when he's trying to shift that thing. And I mean...
His sciatica acts up. It's about to rain.
Exactly. The first time you complain about your back, that's the moment that you become old.
Yeah. I can't remember if that pops up later on. I'm a little bit behind in my prep. I noticed that too. Oh God! If only he knew. 20 years later, man, it's gonna start popping off. It's gonna suck. Yeah. So let's swipe over to Eddie and Susannah as they figure out, hey, we've seen a Gray. He sucks. Maybe the pubes are a little bit better.
Spoiler.
Well.
No.
No, it all sucks. It all sucks. Nothing matters.
Rhymes with crud.
I bet they were thinking on the front end that they got the good job. Like, oh, yeah, you go after the syphilitic pedophile, and I will just go to a train station.
Yeah.
See you later, Roland.
No, buy a copy of the Times, kick back, maybe make a couple of calls, answer some emails. Yeah. No, not the case. It doesn't dawn on them right away. They're like, oh, that statue's knocked over. And they look up, and then does, oh, those speaker poles, those light poles, well, they're just pretty much festooned with corpses, aren't they? Thousands and thousands of them, dangling. Some of them mummified, some of them fresh with flies. Oops.
Do you think Stephen King has actually seen a dead body before? Because I tried Googling the smell that he says that the corpses are giving off, the dry cinnamony smell. He talks in the stand about cordwood. There's the whole Stand By Me thing. Do you think he's actually seen a dead body, like as research? Because, again, when you Google it, that's the only place that this cinnamon smell that he describes comes up is in references to Stephen King.
I've heard mummies described as smelling like spices, like actual, like bona fide mummies. I don't know about like a dried corpse that is mummified, in open air would without that treatment. It seems like, he doesn't mention it on writing or anything, but like it seems like he would have, gone to a body farm or, gone to like a university and looked at it.
God, how would you pitch that? You just walk up and you're like, I need to smell your corpse room, please. I need to get it in my nose.
Yeah.
Maybe at this point, when you say I'm Stephen King, they're like, whatever you want, sir.
Yeah, you're American royalty. Yeah. Now, and this is probably the more likely scenario, he probably got it wrong in one book and got a flood of people writing in to correct him, and that was all the research that he ever needed to do.
That's fair.
Oh,
yeah. I hate to be so cynical, but I imagine that might be the case.
Authors. That's a really good idea for aspiring authors. Write a burner book.
Yeah.
Just get a load of details you're not sure about. Just put that book out.
Yeah.
Let people correct you, and then you've got a codex to work with for the rest of your writing life.
Yeah.
Who needs to just go to the library or smell a body? Just write a really bad book and just use the corrections for the rest of your life. That's clever.
Well, you have to do it under a pseudonym so you don't poison your main well.
The new book from Stephen Queen.
The Return of Richard Bachman.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. Richard Bachman was his corpse-smelling alter ego.
This is where he tried out all of his false notions about corpses.
That gypsy diet plan didn't work like I thought. Oh, well.
Yeah. I like some of the Richard Bachman books. I think they're really good. But yes, they're talking about the smell for this. I'm not going to read the whole quote, but Eddie is kind of revulsed. He has revulsion at this, not because they smell disgusting, but actually because it reminds him of the smell of cinnamon toast as a kid. And
I used to like cinnamon toast as a kid. And, what is it with this chapter? It's just
just sticking up and mining it. I was listening to this on my way into work this morning, and I was late, so I was hungry. I totally got hungry for cinnamon toast listening to this part of it.
But were you then appropriately disgusted with yourself?
I mean, yeah, but I mean. It didn't rise above the normal level of disgust that I have just in general.
Well, they warmed you up with Gasher talking about all those treaties.
Yeah.
True.
The way you said that made it sound like he was just like really enthusiastic about agreements between two groups.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but as they're going on and seeing just this horrifying nightmare vision of these bodies, I imagine not so much crucified, because they say there are thousands of them just kind of like hung up for storage or display, by the score along these things. Susannah has another one of her visions, like she did back in River Crossing, looking back to what this place was like in its heyday, or at least, before they got here, and realizes, she understands a lot about what this used to be, about what Lud was like during the heyday. This, the speakers that the drums are playing through being more for wartime propaganda, saying, oh, bring your gas masks. We have an air raid coming at such and such. Please report to Ration Center D, things like that. And then even goes on to correctly surmise that, like, here recently, somebody put in a tape that they found and fucked with the balance until it was just the drums. And Eddie confirms that by hearing kind of the lower or muted other tracks of ZZ Top's Velcro Fly, now that they're closer to it.
As someone who listens to a lot of his music with one earphone, yeah, I get that. Stupid stereo effects. Damn you, Beatles. What are you doing?
Well, they mix their stuff in mono. Oh, fuck. I just actually do. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I suppose it's possible, if a little self-referential, that if there's Chevy Corsairs and cars and this is our world, maybe someone just put on the Radio Free Midworld, like, opening music.
Oh, shit.
For the podcast.
Oh, no. Did we make this happen? Oh, I feel so bad. Loop. We have so much blood on our hands.
Yeah. Look what you did.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So, but again, this is showing Susannah's kind of touch abilities, right? Her shine. At this point, the drums start again, and if this is something they were hearing from multiple weeks worth of travel away, imagine how deafening it would be if you're standing beneath it. I think even later on, Roland says, I would go mad too if I had to listen to this multiple times every day.
I mean, it's not that bad, is it?
Oh, it's a fun song. I just think that having it played so loud,
true,
it'd be like they use loud rock music to torture people.
I mean, it's a big city. Just go live over there instead.
but it's so loud you can hear it from multiple weeks walk away.
Just move. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's a train.
Yeah. Don't go southeast though. That's gonna suck. Yeah. So this starts up, and all of a sudden, things start to get real, and they see what the drums bring out in the citizens of Lud, specifically the pubes, as they come upon a crowd that is laughing and applauding and kind of cheering. In Eddie's mind, he pictures this. It's like the audience of a Tony Orlando show. But in reality, it's a public execution, because guess what? It's time for the lottery.
Do you win a prize?
A couple. I mean, I assume some lead.
That's fine. I mean, that's pretty valuable. Yeah, in this world, lead's probably useful.
Yeah,
protects against the radiation. You know.
Yep.
I hate to double down on a franchise that I mentioned earlier in the podcast, but when they talk about these guys in their little Lord Fauntleroy outfits, all I could think of is in the Venture Brothers with Dr. and Mrs. The girlfriend's murderous Moppets.
The Moppets,
with the little Cockney accents and the fancy little, little Lord Fauntleroy like caps and short pants.
The ringlets and stuff.
Hello, governor. Like just the worst Cockney accent I can imagine.
Yeah, they're gonna do spankers. Yeah.
Twas his birthday.
How are you doing, Paddy?
I got Salazar from Resident Evil 4.
Oh, shit, yeah, Salazar would be really good, too, yeah.
Because he looks gross enough to fit as well.
Oh, true, yeah, because, like out from the rubble, they got this little kid coming up, being real happy, like, oh, they're going to do spankers. That's what he says. And then, it's a little kid dressed up like little Lord Fauntleroy. In reality, he's a dwarf. That's the term they use. Little person, whatever. Named Luster, who also has the horse blossom, and just like Gasher, is also holding a grenade. But
it's a good move. It's worked for them in the past.
Oh, it's super effective.
Everybody's got the same little diminutive on the end. Luster, Gasher, Spanker.
Yeah.
It's like Santa's reindeer or something, On
Gasher, on Spanker, on Luster, on Maud. Maud doesn't fit in. Yeah.
I read his name wrong. When I read Luster, I read it as like a lovely shine. Like, Luster, that's a pretty nice name. And then now I'm reading it again. It's like, oh, he just does lust on things.
Right. He doesn't lust.
Just a tiny, horny Lord Fauntleroy lust boy.
That's where I got the horse blossoms. But yeah, like he comes up to them saying, trying to bring them into the crowd, assuming they will be excited. And when he realizes he doesn't recognize them, all of a sudden pulls out the grenade. Susannah fires, and this is the first person that she's shot. And they're going to kill a bunch of people here. And through the smoke of the grenade that goes off because they shoot him at distance comes this gigantic crowd of people, and they make a massacre of it.
Although almost Eddie doesn't, because he gets the gun stuck in his pants.
He should only fight dude.
He should exactly. Well, they say like he's struggling with it, and Susannah's freaking out because again she's never killed anybody up to this point, and he has to rip his pants in order to get the Luger out, like he is the world's shittiest Superman. Yeah. But like,
I mean, he could have styled it out, done it like a stripper, maybe just kind of gone boom, just kind of flung the pants at them, and then they all start cheering, and then they're easy to shoot because they're excited.
Yeah, well, this is why everybody needs to wear NBA warm-up pants at all times.
And he's even got the background drums, like with the ZZ Top stuff for the backing stuff for the striptease, right?
It's his intro song, yeah, for sure. But this is a pretty big scene. It isn't until they shoot somebody who looks like Ronald McDonald that the mob realizes that they are not just dealing with marauders or with greys, they are dealing with gunslingers. And then all of a sudden, they go from being extras in a Mad Max film to kind of being people from River Crossing. They cry pardon, they bow. There's still this mark that gunslingers have left on the world, and they're kind of terrified because, I'm presuming here, maybe their day of reckoning has come.
They've come back and they're not happy with you.
No.
It's sorry. Oh no. Oh dear. They've realised what they've done. Although, hang on, he grazed the man who looked like a clown. Is that the Rudolph of this crowd? He's got a red nose.
Yeah, but
this is like the Christmas movie for the Purge, right?
Oh,
this is like the Purge Christmas.
A very Purge Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh. But this gets them to stop, and they finally, start talking and, ask about what they want. This is where we get some details about at least Pube Society and why they're doing this. It's confirmed that, yes, this is a lottery. Spanker's name came up, even though he was the leader. They specifically asked, like, hey, who's your leader? Well, we just killed him, and then you just killed anybody who would have succeeded him, so... my favorite line
here.
So it's
you!
Yep, this is your promotion. One of my favorite lines here is, what was your name? I think this is Maud, looks up and says, oh, you shouldn't have killed Winston, missus. 'Twas his birthday, so it was. This society that apparently, is like a death cult. They don't even value life at all. The idea of them celebrating a birthday or thinking that a birthday would be a cause for mercy is pretty hilarious to me. I mean, in a dark, bleak way, But yeah.
I mean, the rate as well that these lotteries happen, like it's, 2 or 3 a day, isn't it? Something like that?
Yeah.
How long has this been going on? How many people were in Lud to sustain this level of corpse? And they're all still fighting, aren't they?
Yeah.
How is anyone left?
There must have been a lot of pubes.
Yeah. That's
imagine, say it's been like, I don't know, maybe 30 years since they saw anyone.
It seems like
3 corpses a day, that's 365 years a week. Like 20,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's enough people there, fine, but geez, guys.
Yeah, you would think that some of them would have died from starvation, or we heard about the one, was his name like Timmy Tugboat or whatever, who left, like who went upriver. Yeah. It is kind of ludicrous that who knows if there if there are any of the original pubes left, or if they are just like going out and raiding the countryside or taking anybody who is coming through. Like, how many of these people were Jakes 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oof. It's pretty fucked up. But
but now I've got Jake in a little Fauntleroy outfit, and it suits him.
He's adorable.
Oh, look at him go. Yeah. So the reason they're performing these executions, doing these lotteries, is to stop the ghosts who live in the machines from reanimating the corpses of the dead. And boy, this is Lud, rhymes with crud. We got lots of dead. We got them in spades. And they're like, that makes no sense. There's no such thing as ghosts. And they won't even believe Eddie when he says, hey, this is probably a lie that the Greys have spread in order to, get the pubes to take care of themselves. Right. But they're vehement. They're insistent that, yes, there are ghosts. You haven't been around here. You haven't actually experienced the machines that rest below this city. They won't say if they've actually seen any of these zombies, but even the very idea of that somehow something about this city would make the dead get up and walk again, is pretty upsetting. Although giving the dead more corpses to use seems like a bad strategy.
Well, they're flooding the fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're giving it loads of oxygen so it burns itself out.
Yeah.
Here's more dead guys to stop the dead guys. Yeah. It'll work.
You throw a big log on that fire. Goes out.
We'll clog up the dead guy pile until the dead guys can't wake up anymore. Yeah. We'll just keep throwing dead guys on the pile. And yeah, it's
too overcrowded, yeah.
You know what I was kind of wondering, because they talk about how Blaine, when they asked to go see Blaine, is the worst ghost of all. Do you think that maybe it's not the corpses, like that they're just... These guys are so divorced from technology that they're sticking knives in old toasters and then being like, ooh, a ghost got him, when they're just being electrocuted or something?
It's possible. I mean, they describe electricity as blue fire, and they only recognize electricity as like the name it used to be called by.
Like somebody starts a car or turns on a Walkman and they're like, uh-oh, ghost, gotta kill 10 of my friends.
Yeah. What is it? Sufficiently advanced technology indistinguishable from magic?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got this from the description here. Like it's all. I kind of felt like it's all AIs maybe that have all since died.
Mm-hmm.
I had this like the first one going through anyway. That it's maybe like because it's quite. You've got these bubble Jetson cars, so it's not a big leap to think maybe the cars can talk to them.
Yeah. And they say Blaine is the worst of all. You know, we're going to find out stuff about Blaine that supports what you're saying. That these are
Blaine
the ghosts that they're
the worst version of Siri that exists, right? It's all the Siris that were left in town.
Yep. Oh no, shitty Siri. Yeah. I have to be very careful because if I say the name of my Amazon dingus, then my entire house will light up. I live in fear, guys.
They'll alert the police and start transmitting this recording, right?
And I don't want this recording to get out. Come on.
Exactly.
Madness. So the pubes are horrified that Eddie and Susannah want to go right into the nest of the very beast that they fear the most. Right? They tell a story of their friend who couldn't answer a question that Blaine asked, and so they burnt him up with blue fire. It's no joking matter to them. And Maud and Jeeves, I don't think Jeeves is his actual name, but he's dressed up like a butler, and so that's what Eddie calls him, decide, okay, well, we're going to do this. And there's this kind of moment of kind of unexpected tenderness as Maud, who's this blonde woman who has lost most of her hair due to something that was like mange, bends over and kisses Winston, Winston's corpse, and says, "Hey, I will meet you at the clearing at the end of the path," kind of putting the lie to this idea that they had that the pubes and all the inhabitants of Lud are so desensitized by their constant struggle that they cannot really experience anything strongly aside from bloodlust.
Yeah, this was a strange bit.
Yeah,
for me, like this kind of just put a strange tint on the whole scene. Because they seem to be tied up in this big death ghost cult with the drums and the banging and the stop the ghosts from bringing back the dead people, and they seem to revel like in the fact that it's Spanker's turn. Oh yeah, he's gonna die, brilliant! Like they seem really excited. But then when someone dies, but maybe it's because they've died, but not to stop the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because he didn't get to stop. Okay, here we go. Yeah, maybe because he wasn't able to be tribute to the ghosts. Yeah. And wasn't able to die in an honourable fashion, sort of like maybe like Aztec sacrifice sort of thing, or like the Vikings having to die in the field.
Yeah, it wasn't a sensible or useful death. It was a waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have stopped 5 ghosts with this death.
They turn on their leader. Who knows if they would turn on each other because of that higher authority. They definitely get pissed off at the Greys, or even worse than the Greys are out-of-towners. Because, of course, xenophobia plays in. But there's nothing to say that even among their own group, as long as you are not from the outside or you are not, designated by fate to go, that, yes, we do value each other's lives and we have to rely on each other outside of these, outside of the drum-sanctioned killings.
Oh, God, now you say local, I'm getting flashbacks to a show called... Do you ever see a show called The League of Gentlemen? It was on in the UK for about 10 years ago.
No, is that related to the show. Alan Moore thing? Okay, no.
No, no, not at all. It's a
this
terrifying...
is the League of Ordinary Gentlemen.
Yes.
Oh, it's a terrifying show about a little village full of just horrifying, ugly, deformed, strange people. And 2 of them run a shop. And God help you if you're not local. This is a local shop for local people. There's nothing for you here. And, like, suddenly I'm just seeing all these parallels to these pubes.
Yeah.
Who are looking at these non-local people like, who are you? What's all this shouting? We'll have no trouble here.
Greeting, stranger. Yeah.
And that show's creepy as shit. Someone got buried in a garden with a tiny tube on top so they could breathe and die in the garden. And that was the end of a comedy show.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I was going to double check with you. This is meant to be a comedy. Is it, like, meant to... I'm supposed to take the piss, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to take your term. Is it meant to make fun of like small town, like northern England kind of like xenophobia stuff?
The town's called Royston Vasey.
Okay.
And it's just, it's like that sort of xenophobia. It's full of like just bizarre, black, horrible pastiches of people. And they all look a little bit scabby, actually.
Huh.
Now I come to think of it. Oh,
The League of Gentlemen.
yeah, it's horrible. It's probably on Netflix, but it's horrible. But if you're interested in watching just terrible people in a terrible place, then why not give it a go?
Yeah, I hadn't heard about this, but it sounds like it'd be a little bit my alley.
Weird as shit.
What?
It's weird as shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sell me more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they end up, being led by Maud and by Jeeves to the Cradle, which itself is this gigantic square building that dwarfs many of the others. Looks kind of like the Parthenon and is decorated with statues of the guardian animals. And the next chapter is going to show us what exactly is going on inside of that building with its blue fire. The final kind of sub-party that we're going to go to is, a little bit short. Again, these have, all of this has been threaded through and peppered in with the other stuff. But Roland and eventually Oy are hot on the trail of Jake. Roland actually gets to the trap alley, spots Oy's footprints and calls for him, and Oy's, kind of not having any of it, but he is just completely obsessed with going after Jake. I'm sorry, Ake. And I love this because no matter what the setback, no matter how, terrible anything is, no matter how much Roland is, saying to Oy, like, hey, don't run ahead, we'll all die, Oy will obey, but he is constantly shouting Jake's name. Kind of heartwarming, right?
Such a good boy.
That's a very good boy. Oy.
Like, he is literally... he is like this sort of cements him as just a very, very, very good boy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you can already see the connection between the two. Like, he adores Jake in the way that every dog, like, adores its owner. And if it hasn't seen Jake for 5 minutes, he's like, where's Jake?
Yeah.
And then Jake turns up and he's like, I've not seen you for a year. How are you?
Yeah. No, Oy is great. I've kind of gone back and forth on him in the past. I was pretty glowing about him last time. Sometimes you look at it and you think, oh, this is just meant to be, incredibly kind of like cloying. Like, oh, this is the kid appeal kind of thing. But that's because I've not always been a dog person in the past, and I wouldn't consider myself fully one now. But like, there is this heartwarming aspect to their relationship that even I, made of stone as I am, have a very, very soft spot for.
And Cole's heart grew 3 sizes that day.
And doctors were called in because that is a problem. So
I would never pay $2,000 for a dog or something like that, but I would certainly pay $2,000 for a Billy Bumbler.
Well, it's so versatile.
And they talk.
Yeah, it could be who needs an answering machine? Also, who remembers what answering machines were? So that was
certainly not the pubes.
Nope. They don't even understand what tapes are. Yeah. So
they're ghosts.
Yep, ghosts. It's all ghosts. Oy joins and he's kind of following cautiously. He will get close to Jake, no problem, but he wants to keep Roland at a little bit arm's length. But they are together in this mission, and together they end up, spotting these traps. It's only because Gasher threw away Jake's backpack that he even spots the tripwires. These really thin, like I think they're called like guitar strings or banjo strings. So they're not like steel cables or anything. He spots it because, hey, the drums start, and also Jake's backpack is there, so he starts paying more attention to it. So good job, Gasher. You could have solved that, but you got hungry. You got hungry for a squeeze it, didn't you, Gasher?
Jansport saved the day again.
with their quality high durability stitching. Jansport.
Today's podcast sponsored by Jansport.
It's never too soon for back to school. Yeah. Bum your kids out by buying them a new backpack. Mom, it's fucking July.
Yeah. May I suggest navy blue?
This one has a cell phone pocket. Sit in my pants,
on the
Mom.
Outside.
Yeah.
So, and Roland also spots the pressure plates. Again, he's saying like, oh, this is farcical. Who would have thought that I wouldn't have noticed this gigantic hanging fountain or these 2 conspicuous things on the ground? The drum stop, he hears the gunfire in the distance. He missed the fight that Eddie and Susannah has, but this is the regular, deliberate gunfire that makes him think, hey, Eddie and Susannah have found the cradle. And he decides, well, let's throw everybody off the trail. Let's blow this joint intentionally. and that was the explosion and the bang that Jake heard off in the distance.
I like how Roland seems really proud of Eddie and Susannah.
Yeah.
Just they take something like, yep, that's them. They're fine.
Okay, I can stop worrying.
Yeah, they're okay. They're shooting some people now. They're totally fine. Different gun sounds. Yeah, they're both doing it. Yeah, this is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, Roland, competence elemental, sees the trap by just looking up, which people don't do.
No.
People never look up.
Yeah.
If you want to hide something, put it up.
Yeah.
I've learned this at work because it's stock take season again, and invariably we always forget, like, we've got these little bunting things that we sell, and they're hung up from the ceiling. Every single time we do it, we forget them. And you look around and think, we've missed something. I know look up, everyone.
Yeah.
No one looks up. Well done, Roland.
No, but when I worked in a store, it was really frustrating because we'd hang up these big signs that had all the information about the sales or whatever that were going on, and nobody would ever notice them. Because people don't read what you put up. It's not a judgment. It's just not a natural thing people do. And also, if it is above eye line, then nobody's going to see it. You're absolutely right.
Just to extrapolate, I have an entire upstairs section at my shop, and people are like, "Oh, have you got an upstairs?" There's 12 signs and big stairs. Next to the till.
There are footstep decals on the floor leading to the stairs. Yeah.
There's a man at the bottom saying, "Hey, go up those stairs."
Yeah. Oh, well. But, Roland is not going to be stopped by something as elementary as a drop trap. And he decides, hey, Oy, it's going to be dark down there. I don't want to leash you. You're going to hate being leashed, but this has to happen if we're going to go get Jake. Ache. And that's where this ends. So, kind of final concluding thoughts. Next time we're going to get to the remainder of this chapter. And then the final episode is going to be a big wrap up with kind of the short coda that this book has in the Riddle and Wastelands chapter. But I want to hear what the two of you kind of brought away from this portion of the chapter, given that we have kind of left things at a cliffhanger intentionally. Autumn.
I love this section, even more than I was expecting to when I signed up. You don't tend to think of these things as compartmentalized. You think of the book as a whole. But this one was terrifying, but so funny at the same time. I mean, Gasher's such a character. This is definitely the black comedy section of the book.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Mm-hmm. Paddy.
Yeah, much the same. I didn't expect to enjoy this as much as I did on my reread. And again, like we said earlier, I just wanted to carry on, but I thought, no, stop. Collect your thoughts. Don't start talking about things that we're not talking about yet. Stop. Yeah. I love the riddles at the start. I love the plane they find that Jake identifies as a Nazi fighter jet. Like, that's brilliant. Again, just keeps this shared world stuff going. And it's just nice to see the five of them interact as a fivesome. It's just nice to see them working together and then immediately getting split apart. But it's good to see the ka-tet becoming more competent. Like, they're all picking it up off of Roland. Even Jake just being a completely fearless, absolute dude, even though he's in, well, I say one of the worst things of his life. His life has not been great for the last month or so. But, just trying to stop Gasher and just running across the bridge, absolutely fine. He's so cool. Maybe that's the thesis for this half of the book, like this half of the chapter. Jake's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he's on the edge of breaking, but like at any point where he has the opportunity to make things end, he decides that, like, okay, I can feel this despair, but there is probably a more useful way to channel this. So, like, it's not that he doesn't feel it; it's that he doesn't, act on it in a useless way.
And he's shown that in the past as well. When he decided, you know what, I'm walking out of this classroom. No, not today.
Yeah. For sure. And for me, it's all about Gasher. I love the bees portion of this. I think that is like a nice little piece of, here's the buzzword, world building. And it plays on my innate horror for bees and such. But I think Gasher is a villain, let's say not quite on the order of like a Norman from Rosematter, because that is something that is I mean, like, on a whole different scale, it's an entire book that is dedicated to the particular ways that he's fucked up, and he's definitely more grounded. But just inventing a villain who has nothing to lose and therefore is completely unpredictable, I think is always going to work for me. And just the level, the amount of depravity that he has on display makes him just like the highlight of this section. Maybe not the highlight of the book, because this book has so many highlights. I'm having such a good time. This is such a great ride. But I think Gasher right now gets the honorable mention, because he is, this representative, this whole kind of summary of what Lud is all about. He is Lud writ small, right?
He's horrifying and brilliant at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. So we will conclude Lud on this next portion of Breton City in about 2 weeks. I thank you so much for listening to this. A reminder of what we're going to be covering in the off season between book 3 and book 4. We're going to be talking about, during that time, the Dark Tower movie is going to be coming out. Also, the movie for It, the new one, is going to be coming out, and I want to talk about both of those. In addition to that, I also want to talk about The Mist and about The Stand. The Stand is probably going to be 2 parts, because that is a massive book, and even with our kind of zoomed out approach, we would need to dedicate more time to that, just to cover it. And I admit I'm doing that mostly because I really love The Stand. And yeah, we're also talking about The Mist, because both of those have bearing on Wizard and Glass that we're going to get to. Some people have also asked, what are we covering after Wizard and Glass? There's some like comics and also some like interstitial stuff, like the the Little Sisters of Illyria that we want to cover there, because it is about what happens between Wizard and the Gunslinger. But we are going to be doing The Wind Through the Keyhole during that time between book 4 and 5. Because that is when that takes place in the main story. And it wouldn't make sense to finish up with book 7 and then go back in time. So for anybody who's been asking that question, that is kind of our intention. I know I just laid out a lot of details. I want to go and update the schedule as well, so people will know when that's happening. We've also revamped the Patreon. So if you want to get even earlier access to these episodes, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. We're changing that from a day of early access to a week. So if you're impatient, as we often are, to get the next thing, well, that is a great way to hear these episodes before everybody else. Autumn, where can people find you online?
You can find me on the Duckfeed Slack in the Radio Free Midworld channel. You can also find me on Twitter at Mrs. Greer. That's MISSUS, Greer. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
It's a pro follow. And Paddy.
You can find me at Gasher's Gushers.
Oh no.
You can find me on Twitter at Paddy Stardust, and if you want to listen to my show about Dark Souls, and we just did 15 goddamn hours of E3, you can find that on at Twin Humanities. That's right, 15 hours, I counted. Holy shit.
Yeah, wow. And you can find me on Twitter at Cole Ross, that is KOLEROSS, and on other shows at Duckfeed.tv, a whole family of podcasts. I think that's all the business. Mentioned some stuff at the start there, but most of all, we would love to have you back next time and for the rest of the series. And until then, long days and pleasant nights.